how long does it take for you to finish typical inspection when it comes to?
A typical home inspection is going to be between probably 2 and 3,000 square feet.
Mm,
Um, and that takes about, I leave an allotment of about 3 hours to do that. And that allows me to do my inspection, and then I'll do a second inspection with the buyer and walk through what I found and answer any questions that they have, and then give them some tips and ideas on how to maintain the house.
so what are the common issues sometimes you find
Common issues.
for home buyers to pay attention to?
Well, when you walk up to the house, take a look at the sidewalk. Make sure that the sidewalk is even, that there's not a lot of cracks in the sidewalk or in the driveway. That's a good start. You want to take a look at the exterior of the home. One thing that's becoming common with vinyl homes is, especially with the homes being close together, you can have the sun reflecting off of your neighbor's window, but it will actually start to, cause the siding to melt or become wavy. It's going to lose its structural integrity there. And so it's going to look like some heat got a hold of it, and then you have to diagnose or figure out where that heat came from. Other things are wood pests. They wouldn't necessarily be obvious, but you can have carpenter ants in a house, or depending on where you're at, you can have termites. There can be a lot of things that poor air circulation. That's probably one of the most common, is poor air circulation in the house. A lot of folks won't have their thermostat turned on where they think it's on, but it's on auto. And what you want to do is you want to turn it from auto to on, because the fan is electric. So they may have a gas furnace that's gas warm air, gas forced air, and that's going to come on a cycle. When that thermostat sends out the signal, it's going to turn it on. But what you want to have, especially with the newer homes, is have the fan on constantly. It's actually designed to run that way.
Oh wow! So is there any red flags that home buyers needs to pay attention? Like,
Say that again.
Red flag.
Oh, red flag.
Mm.
Yeah. You could have you might want to look at cracks in the foundation. If you see stains in the ceiling, and it's not just in one area and there's no explanation for it, that could be, you could have a leak in the roof, or you could have one of the pipe jacks from the plumbing has developed a leak, or you know fortunately up here we don't have the same problem that I've experienced down south, is mold. We do have mold up here, but not to the degree that it can grow down there.
Mm. So is there any simple advice you have for home buyers? Let's say first time home buyer or someone who is buying a house. Do you have any simple advice?
Well, take a look at the house. If it's clean, if it looks like it's clean and it's neat, that's going to be a good indicator that it's been taken care of. That's going to be the first thing that I would suggest. That's going to be easy enough to see.
So someone may ask, they are buying a new construction, brand new house. Mm-hmm. Do they have to do inspection?
Absolutely.
Okay.
There's a lot of things. The builders have what they call well, they've got a checklist. There's a different name that they use for it, but they can miss things. And I've done inspections on newer homes, and I'll go through and I'll find, the garage door wasn't installed properly. It looks good as you go through and you operate, it's like you're finding out that there's a part that wasn't installed that should have been. Little things like that. They can take shortcuts, and so on new homes, it's easier to spot those where if they've taken shortcuts. As far as the construction of the home.
Okay. Wow. So if what is the difference between? I remember someone was asking uh, point of sale inspection and actual inspection.
Point
Like
of sale inspection.
yeah, by the city, because some cities like Minneapolis and other cities want
So
to,
they want a TISH inspection.
yeah,
They're going to have a different set of requirements than what I'm going to look for. They're going to be mostly trying to address the codes that the city has set up for it. Some of that will overlap, but it doesn't completely overlap with what a home inspector does.
okay, wow. So if someone is buying and then there is some city inspection already, they shouldn't rely on it. They need to.
Not 100%, because there's going to be things that they're looking for that is not going to be relevant to the homeowner. It's going to be relevant to the city. I've come in on homes where they had the TISH inspection done, and the electrical system, the box, the main panel, had several code violations. So they're not going to take the dead panel off or the dead plate off the box and look in behind there. I'm going to go ahead and do that and make sure that we got the proper wiring in there.
Oh.
They're going to look for, okay, do we have GFCI in the house, or how is the plumbing, in the bathrooms. They're going to be looking for different things, different points than what I'm looking for. I'm going to be looking for not just safety, because that's going to be their primary, is safety and their codes. We look for those, but we also look for the structural defects.
Yeah, folks, if you are planning to buy a house, either you're a first-time home buyer or home investor, I think it's very, very important for you to pay attention to this, because this is really great information. Steve has been in business for so many years, and I know definitely that those of you who are interested in this will have more, will learn more from what he's talking about. So, Steve, let me ask you one question. This one is for home sellers.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I've learned is that some people just put their house on the market.
Yep.
They don't do anything. What advice do you have for them? If someone, let's say, I want to sell this house, I want to sell this building, or whatever it is, do I have to do inspection before I put the property on the market, or pre-inspection?
It's a good idea. Not everybody's going to do it. A house is a reflection of the person who lives in it. And so if the house is clean and neat, then you know that they've been maintaining it. A lot of folks today don't know how to maintain a house, or they haven't had the experience growing up on what you need to do in the spring, for spring cleaning, for fall cleaning, things like that you need to do. So yeah, it's a good idea, because that way there could be something that the homeowner isn't aware of. A couple of times I've done a pre-inspection and noted that there was a leak in the furnace, and so they were able to go ahead and get that taken care of, rather than being surprised and possibly losing the sale, because they had that taken care of, and then they can point back to the buyer and say, we had this inspection done, and these are the points that were addressed, so we know that they're good.
So what about the roof? Do they have to inspect the roof? Call somebody to come and inspect the roof, the plumbing system, and electricals, or that is not that important?
No, it is. It's very important. Everything you just mentioned is what the in building science they call a system. And so the roof is its own system, and so you want to make sure that roof is in good shape. You want to make sure that if it's got shingles, how old are the shingles? Now the home inspector isn't going to tell you the exact date, but they're going to get you close. I've inspected so many roofs that I'm usually within a year or two, either side generally, because there's just visual cues to look for. And that we'll look for. and you can tell when you touch the roof, it'll have a different feel when it's older than when it's newer. Um, Plus, it's just going to have a different look up here. It takes on a different appearance that folks don't necessarily pay attention to.
Oh, wow. So do you charge, you know, different, if someone want to do pre-inspections, there any different fees or?
It's based on square footage.
Oh, okay.
So up to 3,000 square feet, it's $465 is what we charge.
That's pre-inspection.
That's for the pre-inspection.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was thinking for the buyer.
No.
So for the pre-inspection, it's going to be about $75 to $100 less, because there's certain things that we're just going to move past, because we're going to assume, like for instance, the washer dryer is working. So there's some things that we won't necessarily look at because they're not crucial to the sale of the home, if that makes sense.
Oh, okay. Wow.
I mean, beforehand, not after.
So if someone is selling, want to put a house on the market, the most important they need to do is to either pre-inspection. They can decide not to do it, but it is very important for them to.
It's a good idea to have a pre-inspection done. Do you have to do it? No. Most folks will forego it. Again, like I said, it's a reflection of the homeowner, and a lot of the homeowners that are into maintaining the home, they won't be as concerned because they're already going to be on top of it. For the folks that are not as familiar with it, it's not a bad idea, because again, that way you don't get blindsided and lose a sale. You can sell the home faster that way.
So if you do inspections and then you found something, it's good idea for them to fix it ahead of time before.
Right. And then they'll have a list that they can present
to the buyer.
The listing agent will put that together and say, okay, this stuff has already been addressed. So if there is any questions, they're already answered.
Wow. Okay. This for home sellers, right? I think this is really good information. It's one of the things that sometimes majority. Last time I received phone call from somebody, and then the person was asking me that he wasn't sure about the roof, and I wanted to find out if he has to go out there and inspect the roof to make sure that the roof is working, the roof is in good condition or not. And if it's not in good condition, what are the things that he needs to do so I couldn't actually give him any answer concerning that. So this information is really good, mostly the roof, because if the roof is in bad shape, it's going to cost the seller a lot of money.
Right.
Let's talk about common issues. What are the most common problems you find in homes? Advice. In case you have to advise the sellers or maybe the buyers.
One of the common ones is, we'll start with the exterior, that I find is you'll have a negative grade, and you'll have shrubs that are planted too close to the foundation of the house. So you're holding water against there, and then with that, depending on the shrub. Now I'm not talking about perennials or annuals that people plant, but like bushes, like little cedar trees or yews that they'll put in. They're going to hold water, and that can cause cracks and cause cracks to the foundation, especially in the wintertime when things freeze. And I talked about the efflorescence. Those are two probably the most common on the exterior. Interior, the next would be the electrical. Sometimes the receptacle is damaged, or over time, what happens is the ground will come loose, and so it'll show up as an open ground. I run into that quite a bit, and all that really needs to be done is just tighten that screw down, because over time, when you're running electricity, things have a tendency to heat up, and that can cause screws, if they're not securely fastened, to come loose over time.
Oh, wow. Do you offer any follow up after inspection?
Pardon me?
Do you offer any follow up?
Follow up inspections?
Yeah,
Yeah, actually, there's a mortgage company that I work with that, depending on the nature of what I've found, they will require, and I'll go back through and I will do a secondary inspection for folks. Where for mold is probably one of the more common ones that I do that with, to make sure that things are up to the air quality is up to the standards that they need to be for the people.
Oh, wow. So, do you have any home maintenance tips for?
Let's see.
Any tips? Yeah.
You know, a lot of that's just going to depend on how handy the person is and what they're comfortable with. Some folks they just want to have the handyman come in, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Let's see. Plumbing can be intimidating, but you can. What I tell folks to do for a lot of things, for the majority of the jobs that you need to do to maintain the house, I tell them to remember YouTube or TikTok. 10 years ago, you had, some guy, Joe Blow, that was out there putting together a video how he did things, and they may not have been wrong. It may have been kind of neat at the time, but it wouldn't necessarily be the city code. Now we have folks that are out there on YouTube. They're going to give the same information that I'm giving. For instance, I'll tell the folks how to flush their water heater. And if they forget, it's easy. Just go on YouTube, and they're going to walk through the process. It's a simple process.
How often should they flush it?
They should flush the water heater once a year.
Okay.
On average. That prevents the sediment buildup that can insulate the thermostat that's in there, and from causing that to overheat and then crack the tank. So that's the point of flushing it.
Oh. And then, is there any tip for furnace?
Yeah, the furnace, again, the furnace is a lot of the items on the furnace is real easy to fix yourself. It's almost, like I tell some folks, it's the majority of the items are like plug and play. So if you're used to putting your game console together and plugging things in, it's kind of like that. It's not as intimidating as you might think that it would be. And again, just refer to YouTube, because everybody has their phone. They're going to have their phone right there with. It's like, okay, so do this, and you're just unplugging a lot of stuff and using a screwdriver.
Wow.
So it's a lot simpler than.
And then, how often should they change the filter?
So the furnace.
Because I remember someone was asking me, they bought a brand new house, and then they said, do I have to change the filter every month or something, because the house is brand new?
Right. It's going to vary. Every house is different, and you're going to have different furnace filters. You can get the cheap ones that are less than $5, and those you definitely want to change them monthly. If you talk to an HVAC guy, he's going to recommend those. That's all you need. But if you've got allergies or anything else, you may want to spend a little more money. And there's something called a MERV value with the furnace filters, and so that's going to play a role too. But if it's a 1-inch thick furnace filter, on average, about once a month, it's safe. Just take it out and look at it from time to time, and once it goes from white to gray, then you're going to know. It may take 6 weeks. It may take every other month. But they've also got thicker filters out there too, and those you won't have to change as often, maybe quarterly or semi-annually.
So the air conditioning, you don't need to do anything about air conditioning.
No, you want to take care of that too.
Mhm.
So, and that's another real simple one. You just the one thing you want to be careful with the air conditioner is the fins. The fins are the cooling element of the air conditioner, so you don't want to use a high pressure hose on those. But what you can do is you can unscrew the top, a corner of it where it's kind of notched. There's going to be wires running there, so it's going to attach it to the base. But you can lift that fan and that lid up, and you can take a garden hose and you can wash out sediment and seeds. Mostly cottonwood seeds are real common up here. You can wash those out from the inside out, and that will help the air conditioning unit to run more efficiently.
Okay. Is there any closing advice or anything that you want
Well,
people out there to know?
Well, going back to like you said when you asked me about the house, it's the person's largest investment they're going to make,
Yeah.
and the mortgage company may not require it. The seller may not want it, but the thing that I found is actually the folks who are more well off, who have more disposable income, they get the inspection regardless. And I would recommend that for everybody. It's not just for me, but for your own peace of mind and well-being, because there's nothing worse than walking in and finding out that, well, I have to spend $50,000 on replacing this foundation.
So, what company do you work with? Should, in case someone is wondering, oh, Steve didn't tell your name and then your company and your information.
Yeah,
should, in case someone want to contact you, it's
Right.
not me alone.
Right.
Maybe there is a lender out there, or maybe real estate agent or home
Right.
buyer or
Right.
home seller want to contact you. Do you have any website or any
Yep.
information?
Yep, I have a website. It's Inspections Plus is the website here in Minneapolis, and my name is Steve Reams. I'm the owner of the company, and if you're interested, it's inspectionsplusguru.com, and then my number, if you want to reach out to me, is 612-283-6477.
Okay, thanks, Steve.
Thank you,
Thank
James.
you so much.
Appreciate
Thank you for coming. And then, folks, this is the end conclusion of our first interview. We will meet again. Steve will come and then periodically give you best information about home inspection and all sort of things. So if you are watching this video, forward the video to your friends, like it, and then share the video. And then even if you want to buy a house or sell a house, you don't need to contact me. Contact Steve. Call him. He's a very good man. I've worked with him for so many years, and then I do believe he will give you the best advice you need for your investment. Thank you for watching. Bye.